Part 59. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 584. The Land of Six Reincarnations. Hell Path, Unlocked. When the system prompt appeared, a whirlpool that was completely gray in front of Shenjian suddenly bloomed with a burst of light. Ripples flowed. In the whirlpool, an extremely ferocious and dark aura rushed toward his face. Shenjian's eyes suddenly lit up. The realm of hell, one of the 6 realms of reincarnation, is completely unlocked. From today on, the underworld will also officially restore the divine power of the mythical period, sending the souls of those who died in vain to be reincarnated. Think about it. Shenjian walked over and reached out to touch the entrance to the hell realm. A line of prompts suddenly appeared. The status of the king of hell cannot be reincarnated into the 6 realms of reincarnation. See this. Shenjian's eyes moved slightly. He is the current lord of the underworld and possesses the divine power of the 6 kings of hell. It is only natural that he is not allowed to reincarnate. If he were reincarnated, the underworld would be completely in chaos. Not to mention, no one wants to be reborn in hell, one of the 3 evil realms. Those who can be sent to the hell realm are all those who have committed serious sins and committed heinous crimes during their lives. Reincarnation is not to start a new life, but to transition from the 18th level of hell to another endless purgatory to continue to fight for one's previous life. Accumulated sins to atone for. Therefore, the underworld has become the name that evil people least want to hear. Shenjian took back his hand. Continue to look at the other 5 reincarnations that have not yet been unlocked. Tianshen Dao, unlocked. Shura Dao, unlocked. The Way of the World, unlocked. Beast Way, unlocked. Hungry Ghost Road, unlocked. Shenjian clicked on them one by one. Except for the unlocking conditions in the human world, there was no other response. When the animal path is clicked, the unlocking conditions are generated. Beast Way, unlocked. Unlocking conditions, 50 ghosts with 10 evil karma. See this. Shenjian's expression changed. He showed a thoughtful look. Having the 10 evil karma, one falls into the animal realm. 1 does evil with the body, 2 with the mouth, 3 with the mind, 4 with greed, 5 with anger, 6 with delusion, 7 with insults and insults to living beings, 8 with anger and harm to all living beings, and 9 with incompetence. Pure things, 10 practices of sexual immorality. In layman's terms, people who do evil will fall into the animal realm. People who die because of anger, ignorance, and greed will fall into the animal realm. Those who commit suicide due to depression and lack of ambition, and those who choose to retaliate against society will fall into the realm of animals. The condition for unlocking the beast path is to catch 50 ghosts of this type. Shenjian's eyes were strange. According to his experience, the ghosts who died in the real world due to various reasons seemed to conform to the characteristics of the 10 evil karma. So, this is an unlocking condition that can only be obtained in the real world. Although there are ghosts of this type in the horror world, they are very rare. After all, as a ghost, even if he dies again, it is not death in human cognition. It is still unclear whether the talisman meets the standards of the 10 evil karma. Thinking. A cold system prompt sounded. Mission, rebuild the underworld. Phase 4, unlocking one of the 6 paths of reincarnation, completed. Reward, Biancheng Palace. Shenjian's eyes were slightly surprised. Unlocking the 6 paths of reincarnation can also reward the Palace of Yama? This discovery made Shenjian smile with satisfaction. He originally thought that after unlocking the 18 hells, if he wanted to collect all the 10 palaces of Yama, he would need to advance his meritorious golden body to the 5th level. Unexpectedly, unlocking the 6 paths of reincarnation rewarded him with a Yama palace. According to this progress, When all 6 paths of reincarnation are unlocked, he will also be able to control all the divine abilities of the 10 palaces of Yama. The 10 halls of Yama have always played an important role in the underworld. Whether it is judging ghosts or sending them to reincarnation in the 6 realms of reincarnation, these are closely related to the 10 halls of Yama. According to myths and legends, Emperor Fengdu divided his divine power among the 10 kings of hell. If he could gather the divine powers of the 10 kings of Yama, he would become the Emperor of Fengdu, which is often called the son of Yin Tian. And he is very close to this goal. Think of this. Shen Jian's face showed excitement. He opened the game panel. Name, King Yama. Level, level 58. Identity, King Guang of Qin, King of Shijiang, Emperor of Song, King of Wuguan, King of Yama, King of Biancheng, King of Xuanlun. Ability, Oath of Ghosts and Gods, Hell Contract. The Oath of Ghosts and Gods belongs to the priesthood of King Biancheng. Targeted at oneself. Make a big wish, and once it comes true, you can promise something to heaven and earth. Hell Contract is a derivative ability of King Biancheng. For outsiders, when a contract is signed, the violator will suffer the backlash of merit. If there is no merit, he will die suddenly and completely. Shen Jian pondered. His brows furrowed slightly. This King Biancheng's ability can only be regarded as the icing on the cake for him. His own clerical abilities still need to be further tested to know, but just the addition of King Biancheng's own status as King of Hell is enough to make him feel ups and downs. Moment. Shen Jian returned to the palace of Yama. Now the Hell realm has been unlocked. There are unlocking conditions for the animal realm and the human realm. Fortunately, the beast path is not difficult to unlock. On the contrary, it is the human world that first appeared, and the unlocking conditions are a bit difficult to handle. King Guo's authority has been divided into 9. Now he has only collected 5 dragon spirits. The glorious ghosts and gods promised to help him find one. Emperor Qing has one in his hands, and the traces of the other 2 are unknown. The authority of Olympus was divided into 2, he got the part belonging to the Temple of Elim, and the remaining half was in the hands of the Emperor of the Eli Empire. And based on the words of fairy ghosts and gods, he got clues about the 3rd place, Luo Fengtian, the city of entertainment. However, from the words of the glorious ghosts and gods, he knew that some ghosts and gods in the deep ghost realm knew information about Luo Fengtian in the underworld, and understood that Luo Fengtian's authority could not fall into the hands of a single ghost and god. Based on this situation, he suspected that Luo Fengtian's authority in the 3rd department had also been divided. If this is the case, every time you want to recover a piece of Luo Fengtian, you will need to spend a lot of time and energy. Perhaps. Should he try and subvert Luo Fengtian directly? The advantage of this is that it can be recycled quickly. The bad thing is that after the subversion, the underworld needs to expend great efforts to re-establish order. This will seriously hinder the development of the underworld in the real world. Shen Jian became thoughtful. Thinking about it, the ghost sister-in-law Lu Rong has arrived in the underworld and entered the palace of King Yama. How did you come? Smelly brother, can't I come if you have nothing to do? She gave a charming and scornful look, and her well-dressed cheongsam swayed as she walked. At this time, she looked nothing like a city god holding the city god seal and suppressing evil spirits from all directions, but a passionate and charming royal sister. A gust of fragrant wind blew over my face. The ghost sister-in-law sat down. Their skins touched. Concave and convex. Feeling the initiative of his sister-in-law in his arms, Shen Jian's eyes were strange. At this time, ghost sister-in-law exhaled and said, Kikai is so cute. I also want to have a child of my own. My mother-in-law said that she also wants one. She said, if it is you, she is willing. Bad brother, you have to work harder. I don't want my children to call my mother-in-law's children my brothers and sisters in the future. I just have to suppress my mother-in-law. Here. Shen Jian was a little funny. This sister-in-law's damn desire to win was actually used in such a place. But let a pair of nominal mother-in-law and daughter-in-law get pregnant together. Think of this. Shen Jian's heart rippled. There is a fire burning in my heart. Ready to move. Then remember to stand up straight. He picked up the ghost sister-in-law and returned to the real world. A while of sewing and transplanting. Shen Jian's eyes returned to the game interface. Someone sent him a private message. Mike, sir, everything is going well. I have infiltrated into the Holy See. The original brother is really good to his younger brother. He almost responds to every request. My return has not aroused anyone's suspicion. Shen Jian saw it. Mike is now a brand new individual taken over by his second personality, the evil body. He has not only inherited the original body's horror game account, but also inherited his memories and supernatural objects. It can be said that even the people closest to him, unless Mike takes the initiative to expose his characteristics of being corroded by resentment, no one will be able to discover it. Thinking. Messages on the chat interface continue to come. Mike, sir, with my current authority, I still have no way of knowing about the ghosts and gods followers and the things you want me to investigate, but I already have information about the Cleopatra you mentioned. King Yama, let's talk about it in detail. Mike, according to internal records of the Western Holy See, the ghost codenamed Cleopatra lives in Gallifrey on the American continent, which is one of the birthplaces of the pyramids. Every 6 months, this ghost will open a copy. All humans in Gallifrey have the opportunity to be selected to participate in the trials of ghosts and gods. As long as they can make it to the end, they will have the opportunity to become the dependents of ghosts and gods. Mike, this is the content of the 3 rounds of trials, sir. Please take a look. A brief glance. Shen Jian was very interested. The reason why he paid attention to Cleopatra at first was because she was a ghost or a god who came to the real world. He was very interested in how this ghost and god came to the real world. But now, he already knew the answer from the fairy ghosts and gods. He speculated that the ghost codenamed Cleopatra was probably forced to come by the horror game. After arriving in the real world, it broke away from the control of the horror game to a certain extent, and naturally chose to destroy it. Otherwise, the situation in the Western world is likely to be even worse than it is now. King Yama, when will it be opened? Mike, according to the time estimate, it may only be 3 or 4 days. See it? Shen Jian had an idea. Sooner or later, he would have to go to the Western Holy See. But not now. The current underworld does not have enough foundation to govern the Western world. Even if he takes over, the sky is high and the emperor is far away, and sooner or later it will be out of his control. Otherwise, he would have already allowed the underworld to fully occupy all parts of the world. But he could let the Holy See know how wrong it was to plan to launch a war and annex the Eastern world. Since there are no conditions for jurisdiction now, then convince the other party so that they don't dare to move. Waiting for the arrival of the underworld. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 585. The 3rd day after the Longwen Mountain incident. Qian Quan called Shen Jian. Mr. Shen, Daxia Longke recently decided to build Chenghuang temples across the country. I wonder, what suggestions do you have? His tone seemed very hesitant, and he was asking tentative questions. Although Daxia Longke had already known that Shen Jian's true identity was the first king of hell to resurrect from the underworld, they did not want to reveal this relationship until Shen Jian did not admit it personally in front of them. After all, this relationship seems more cordial. Shen Jian was startled. Build the city god's temple? This idea was very much in line with his plan. There are currently 2 factors restricting the development of the underworld. 1. insufficient number of negative differences. Second, the number of city gods is too small. The first point is that after completely recovering the two deep-level ghost realms of Kingguo and Olympus, he can use the priestly ability of the Rogue King to cultivate the two ghosts of Luo Fengtian into suitable underworlds. As for the second point, it is also based on the derived problem caused by the first point. If there is a difference, naturally there must be a city god who governs a place, otherwise it will be a mess. However, except for Ziping Province, Handong Province, and Ivy City, no city gods were built in other places. This takes some time. As it happens, official intervention can quickly solve this problem. You just have to figure it out. Shen Jian was about to hang up the phone, but then something suddenly occurred to him, and he recounted what the player with the ID Yunlong asked him to relay in the Scarlet Monastery instance. After listening, there was silence on the other end of the phone. It took a moment for the sound to come out. Mr. Shen, thank you for bringing back this news. This is very important to us. We are also aware of the ghost code named Cleopatra internally, but we have never been clear about the specific situation. It's not common to open a copy of the game in the real world. Haven't you investigated it? I just checked and found that Gallifrey in the American continent is also one of the places where Chinese and international students go. There is no such thing. Did the player send back some news? Shen Jian asked curiously. According to Mike's words, he specifically checked where Gallifrey was. I thought it was a very exclusive, remote town with no Chinese, but I didn't expect this place to be quite famous. Because the pyramid is over there. So from time to time, people from the Dragon Kingdom go there. The dungeon is opened once every 6 months. Even if it is a rotation, it is impossible not to have a single Chinese player. But in fact, until now, the information about Daxia Longke has been suspected. This time, the silence lasted longer. A few minutes later, Qian Quan's voice became a little uneasy. Mr. Shen, we found out that none of the people from the Dragon Kingdom who went to Gallifrey in recent years have come back. In the past year, there was a police report about the wife of a couple. She came to report that her husband was missing in Gallifrey and there has been no news, but according to the investigation, her husband actually settled there and was unwilling to go back. We just looked through it and found that there are many similar cases. The basic reason is that they don't want to go back. There must be something wrong with it. Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. Don't want to go back. He guessed that this was most likely the way the Holy See blocked information. Only in this way can we explain why the dungeon has been open for so long and Daxia Longke has not received any useful information. They were afraid that the moment they stepped into Gallifrey, they would not be able to go back. Certainly. Speculation is just speculation. The actual situation requires detailed analysis. Think about it. Shen Jian said coldly, if I bring back a pyramid, can Qingxi where I am located become a third-tier city? Qian Quan? He was confused for a while. I didn't understand what nonsense Shen Jian was talking about. What does it mean to bring the pyramid back? This pyramid is a cultural relic with a long history. Even the Dragon Kingdom doesn't have it. If you dare to bring it back, the Holy See will have to fight for it. What is the difference between this and I stole the B-20 fighter jet back, can I keep my graduate school, or I have developed nuclear fusion, can my school upgrade my undergraduate degree? He was about to speak, only to find that the call had been hung up. Inside the headquarters, the ancient instructor from the Demon City wondered, what's wrong? He said, bring the pyramid back, can Qingxi be a graduate school? No, can it be turned into a third-tier city? A group of Daxia Dragon Bird members. At this time, a staff member asked curiously, Instructor Qian, I just found out that Shen Jian, the person in charge of Qing City, bought a plane ticket to Gallifrey. Qian Quan. Instructor Gu. The other side. Hang up the phone. Shenji undecisively bought a plane ticket. According to Mike, the copy of Cleopatra has been open for only these 2 days. He needed to catch up as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he missed it, he would have to forcibly demolish it. He is not such a person. And if what I said about ferrying ghosts and gods is correct, there is absolutely no way for Cleopatra to come to the real world, which is not consistent with the stance of horror games. In this case, don't blame him for poaching. As long as the hoe is wielded well, no sister-in-law can't dig out the corners. Think of this. A smile flashed across Shen Jian's face. On this trip, he not only had to poach someone, but he also needed to warn the Holy See not to cause trouble in his home. Certainly. Unlocking the beast path is also one of them. Let's see how beautiful this Cleopatra is, whether she can disarm a ghost and god at a glance is also one of them. Thinking. Shen Jian has already stepped onto the plane. American continent. Golly Frey. As soon as Shen Jian got off the plane, he was greeted by a rush of hot air. Handsome guy, let's get to know each other? Are you here to see the pyramids too? At this time, 3 well-dressed girls walked towards me. Shen Jian glanced at it. He remembered that this was the girl sitting 2 rows behind him. Hearing that it was summer vacation, he rarely had time to invite his good sisters to come here to see the pyramids. Shen Jian smiled, yes. It's so strange. I bought a foreign card specially. Why is it so laggy? I originally wanted to start a live broadcast, but with this speed, I have to go back to the hotel and try again. Complained a little girl holding a selfie stick. Who says it's not the case? I originally wanted to book a ticket to go back, but the staff told me that the service was temporarily unavailable. The phone also showed that there was no ticket, and I could only check again in a few days. Another girl also complained, then looked at Shen Jian, her eyes lit up. Handsome guy, are you here to see the pyramids alone? Why don't you come with us? We 3 girls are unfamiliar with the place here. With a boy protecting us, we can feel more at ease. Yes. Handsome guy, you didn't book a hotel, right? If you did, we'll compensate you. You can come with us. We are both from the Dragon Kingdom, so it's more pleasing to our eyes as a fellow countryman. The 3 little girls looked at Shen Jian expectantly. The admiration in his eyes was undisguised. When they first saw Shen Jian at the airport, they seemed to have discovered some treasure. They thought the man was some popular celebrity and kept secretly observing him. Unexpectedly, I didn't see any agents or fans until I landed. Only then did they realize that this man was not a star. But this appearance is too foul. If he makes his debut, if he is 80 years old or 8 years old, he will probably be killed. They were extremely excited to travel with such a man. Hear this. Shen Jian's eyes moved slightly. Has the way back been blocked? It is indeed a simple and crude method. Coupled with a network blockade, there was no way to get the message back. Whoever comes must stay. Is this the way the Holy See used to block Daxia Longke from infiltrating this place? Thinking. Shen Jian glanced slightly in the direction of the airport. From the very beginning, he sensed a lot of supernatural aura at the airport. Some come from ghost masters, and some come from supernatural props. The entire airport was tightly sealed. Basically, all accidents are eliminated. At the same time, he also saw that someone's eyes had been vaguely falling on the 4 of them, as if they were judging whether they were ghost masters, but then they withdrew their gaze and said something on the intercom. Think of this. Shen Jian also had a strange smile on his lips. No problem, let's go. Amid cheers, 3 little girls hailed a taxi. They were chattering along the way, trying to find out what he was saying. Side-by-side questions about whether he has a girlfriend and what kind of girls he likes. Shen Jian replied casually. No, I like them like this. These words. At one point, the eyes of the three little girls became brighter and brighter. However, at this time, the car stopped. The three women got out of the car and found that they were taken to a remote trail. Driver, where are we? Where did you take us? You better take us back or we'll call the police. There are 4 of us here. I advise you not to mess around. The three women's faces turned pale. This kind of scene can easily make people think of bad things. But are these foreigners too unscrupulous? They had just left the airport, and now they encountered a black car? Think of this. The three women were even more frightened. In this foreign country, once they encounter problems, they don't even have a place to redress their grievances. Hey, before you get in the car, don't you look at who is driving. At this time, a sinister smile suddenly sounded. In the driver's seat, the black driver, who had his back turned to them, turned his head away at this moment. The neck stretches 3 to 4 meters. The black skin was full of corpse spots at this moment, like a dead person. This moment, the three women were instantly frightened. How could a person's neck be stretched 3 to 4 meters? Moreover, they had clearly observed before getting in the car that the driver was a living person. How could he suddenly become like this? Ghost. Could it be that they encountered a ghost? Think of this. Their legs and feet were weak, trembling uncontrollably. The beauty faded. The other side. The long-necked ghost stared greedily at the 4 humans in front of him. He was very satisfied with the expressions of these humans looking at him, and their dark faces became more and more ferocious. But suddenly, he found that the man among the 4 did not show any fear. Instead, a look of disdain? Right. The long-necked ghost was a little stunned. He read an inexplicable emotion from Shen Jian's eyes. It seems like disdain, disappointment, disgust, and a hint of resignation. Long-necked ghost? No. I am a ghost riding a horse. You're just going to be disappointed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 586. Chapter 586. A single chapter at the beginning of the month, and please vote for me. Let's talk about this book. I believe everyone who has followed the update knows that this book was fortunate enough to be locked up in a small dark room for half a month due to some force majeure factors. At that time, there were about 1.4 million words in the serialization. The editor asked me to change it, saying that even if all the indescribable content was deleted until there were only 700,000 or 800,000 words left, it must be released first and then finished. But in this case, the book would be completely incoherent and the plot would not match up. I don't want that. So I started to revise it one by one, trying to delete a lot of Thursday content without changing the plot and ensuring the continuity of the plot. Finally, I changed it. And after the revision, there are still more than 1.3 million words left, and the plot has remained straight, so that book lovers will not be confused about the content. But release is the beginning of determining the fate of a book. Because I have been locked up for half a month, I don't know how many book friends have quit, and I don't know how many book friends will pick up again. Certainly. Because of the ban, everyone spontaneously went to my other book and left messages on Penguin, and I noticed it. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank those book friends who read it immediately after it was released, so that this book will not be hastily completed. Thanks again, Noct. Now, in about 2 months, this book will be officially finished. I believe those who have followed the latest book can see that there is really nothing to write about in this book. After writing about recovering Luo Feng for 6 days, unlocking the 6 paths of reincarnation, and joining the 10 palaces of hell, it is basically over. According to my current update speed, it will only take about 2 months. After that, I'll write some extras. That's the plan. Next. Just asking for a monthly ticket. From the beginning of this book until now, the author has never asked for monthly votes for a single chapter. This is the first time for a Yellow Flower Girl. I'm going to shamelessly ask for it once today. In the past, by the end of the month, the highest number on the monthly vote list was around 150. I want to see if I can break into the 100th place. So book friends who have monthly tickets can support a few, thank you very much. At last. Thanks again to all the book friends who tipped, voted for monthly votes, voted for recommendations, and those who continue to read. Many thanks. I also wish all book friends good health and smooth work. July 1st, 2023. October. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 587. Seeing Shen Jian's unafraid attitude, the long-necked ghost didn't believe it. He is a ghost, but he can't scare a human being. When he said this, where would he put his face? Subconsciously. He turned to the other 3 girls. Ah! The unsurprising scream satisfied him greatly. Listen. This is the reaction of normal human beings when seeing ghosts, screaming, panic, fear, trembling, and running away, but among them, there is only no contempt. Think about it. The long-necked ghost thought for a while and suddenly thought of something. A dark grimace revealed a sinister smile. He returned to the vehicle and removed a handgun from the driver's seat. Hey, human, I've seen you in this situation before. Your brain is naturally slow, and you think this might be some kind of spoof variety show, so you want to show your courage in front of girls, then, you humans, are you afraid of this? Said. The long-necked ghost shoots into the sky. Gunshots fired. The 3 little girls were frightened. His hands and feet could not help but tremble. If ghosts are a spiritual attack on them, that gun is a physical attack. No one can remain calm when a gun is pointed at them. No matter how good your kung fu is, you are still afraid of the kitchen knife. No matter how wonderful your kung fu is, you can knock him down with one shot. It's about the horror of modern weapons. They looked at Shen Jian helplessly. The constant hints in his eyes made Shen Jian temporarily submissive. Even if the other party is a robber, he must save his life first. After all, this is not a dragon country, these people really dare to shoot. Hey, this is a real gun. For you humans, being hit by this thing is not much more painful than being killed by me. The long-necked ghost pointed a gun at Shen Jian, and his smile became even more playful. He wanted to see Shen Jian kneeling down and begging for mercy, with a look of fear on his face. At that time, he will deliberately let Shen Jian go, then shoot him from behind, and slowly appreciate the beautiful expression of this human being from gaining hope to facing despair. As a low-level ghost, he likes to see scary scenes of humans. The other side. Looking at the long-necked ghost holding a gun, Shen Jian had a strange look in his eyes. Ghosts in the Western world have evolved to carry guns with them. When you can't beat the ghost controller, should you just try an American IAI? It's enough to keep pace with the times. These ghosts know how to connect with the world. Think of this. Shen Jian said, you were killed for robbery, right? Long-neck ghost? He was slightly startled. Don't understand how this human knows this. But he still subconsciously said, so what? Hear this. A perverted smile gradually appeared on Shen Jian's face. With the sins of greed and anger, plus a vengeful society, you will fall into the realm of animals. However, God is kind to you. Today, I will help you get back on the right path and let you change your mind. He is using King Bian Cheng's priesthood, the oath of ghosts and gods, to make great aspirations. I need to help this ghost change his ways. He wanted to know what can be accomplished by the promises made after fulfilling the big ambitions. However, Long Neck Ghost? He was confused. Why isn't this human afraid of him? Not afraid of ghosts, not afraid of guns. And he also felt that this human seemed to be getting excited. Is it an illusion? Just thinking about it? He suddenly realized that this was not an illusion. I saw. Shen Jian took out various items from his body. Electric saw, scalpel, steel rod, hammer, hemp rope, scissors, stockings. One thing after another, neatly placed on the hood of the car. Then he looked at the long-necked ghost with a strange smile. This kind of ordinary gun is useless and can only be effective on ordinary people, but these are different. Everything here can cause huge damage to supernatural things. It's so unartistic for you to kill people like this. Just look at this blood-stained chainsaw. It can dismember the body of any ghost at will. As the gears rotate, it will cut off your head bit by bit. Or starting from the hands and feet, you can set up a secret room, throw the prey in, and always cut off one of its limbs every 50 meters. In this way, you can still see the hopeful prey and crawl with all its strength. Crawling until all the blood bleeds out and dying in the most painful process. Just a chainsaw has so many artistic methods, I'm afraid I can't introduce it all. Let's talk about this scalpel again. Although it can only be used for surgery, you can add a sense of artistry, that is, without anesthesia, shave the skin tissue of the prey little by little. For 3,000 cuts, he is a great master. And with these stockings, I can pretend to be a pervert and hang up the prey with a hemp rope. Every time the hemp rope moves, I will use a steel rod to hit a big board on the prey's body, and use clever force. It can't be seen from the outside at all. There are no traces, but the internal organs have already exploded, and once you move around, they will be blown into a bloody flower. This is a combination technique. Does it sound more artistic? By the way, there are also scissors, which can drill bloody holes in the prey. The more Shen Jian talked, the more excited he became. A sudden enlightenment. Sure enough, he still missed something when he was at the Scarlet Monastery. So much so that those on the dark side have only learned theories, but no matching experiments. This was his mistake as a gold medal teacher. You really shouldn't forget to teach such an important thing. The other side. Long Neck Ghost. Listening to Shen Jian's torture that was so cruel that he could not accept it, his face changed from a grinning and joking expression at the beginning, to gradually losing his smile, and then slowly becoming serious, until finally, he was almost pale. Even his skin color could not hide his pale face. He was completely dumbfounded. His eyes almost popped out of his head. He looked at Shen Jian with a ghostly expression. Damn it, you always carry these things with you on the road. Farki. Damn it, he seems to have met a real murderer. You are so cruel that even Jack the Ripper would kneel down and call you master. How can you be so cruel? The long-necked ghost's hand holding the gun was shaking. Because he discovered that this human being was definitely not an ordinary person. Apart from anything else, these ghost weapons arranged in a row are not something ordinary people can own. Even if he had been a professional robber for 30 years, he probably wouldn't be able to buy all the things above. Think of this. He panicked even more. Swallowing all the saliva. Looking at the ghost weapon with some flesh and blood on the car hood, he shivered. My bones are loose. The killing method described by this human being is skillful and complete in detail. Even the reaction of the victim ghost is clearly described. It does not look like a fantasy, but that these methods have actually been used. Thump. The gun fell from the long-necked ghost's hand. His face turned pale and he said, "Master, what exactly do you want to do? Didn't you hear what I said? I'm helping you correct your evil ways and teach you the right path." Shen Jian said earnestly, "Once you have experienced the art above, you will have no interest in doing evil. I am here to help you. Here, you choose one." Shen Jian urged the other party. Long-neck ghost? Damn it! God really changes evil and returns to righteousness. After getting to know you, I finally realized that there is still a living king of hell like you in this world. Compared with your evil, what is the difference between me and a good person? You should take the right path. The long-necked ghost shouted crazily in his heart, and his knees almost gave out. He raised his hand. It seems that he wants to persuade Shen Jian to surrender. He hesitated, however, the words have not yet finished. Shen Jian was seen looking in the direction of his finger. There was some appreciation in his eyes. "Yes, you are very enlightened, and you actually chose the combo skill. This combination of stockings, hemp rope, and steel rod is my first time to use it, but I have a strong sense of empathy and will quickly assume the role of a pervert. Come on, stick out your neck, otherwise the hemp rope won't hit you," Shen Jian said. The hemp rope took the initiative to wrap around the long-necked ghost's neck. Hoisted it up. Long-necked ghost. See this? He struggled violently. However, under the suppression of the ghost rope, he could not move at all. You can only watch helplessly as Shen Jian gets closer and closer, and the smile on his face becomes more and more ferocious. "No, you can't do this. I advise you to surrender, so that you can win leniency," the long-necked ghost said in a difficult tone. He shuddered when he thought of the so-called art that Shen Jian just described. The ferocity of this human's methods had reached the point where he was frightened. At this time, there were only two thoughts left in his mind. 1. Advise this heinous human being to surrender and try not to be sentenced to death and to enjoy the rest of his life in prison, although the hope is not very high. 2. Die cleanly and avoid pain before this human tortures him. Think about it this way. He finally persuaded Shen Jian to surrender. He just bit his tongue and committed suicide. The head was tilted to the side, the tongue was hanging out, and the eyes were dim. His own supernatural reactions are also dissipating. Apparently, true to his word, he killed himself. Shen Jian. See this? Shen Jian curled his lips. You can't help but play with the ghosts in the Western world. That's it? Apart from the Count of the Vampire Castle, this was probably the second person to commit suicide in front of him. Spineless. Never mind. Anyway, his big ambition is to kill the other party. Now that the other party is dead, it can be regarded as correcting his evil ways. After all, he did make the other party stop doing evil. Shen Jian stood there and waited for a while. Suddenly, a blessing comes. He could clearly sense that the great ambitions stipulated in the Oath of Ghosts and Gods were being realized. Shen Jian? He was stunned. It seems like I haven't mentioned my wish yet, right? Did you directly replace it with merit? It's noisy. Shen Jian frowned. Suddenly, he was so blessed that he understood something. King Bian Cheng's Oath to Ghosts and Gods is divided into several stages. The corresponding commitment will be achieved based on the difficulty of the grand ambition and the degree of contribution to all sentient beings. For example, Ksiddhagarbha Bodhisattva's "Unless hell is empty, I will never become a Buddha" is the so-called Great Wish. And what he just said can only be regarded as a wish. By using the clerical ability of the Oath of Ghosts and Gods, he can only let heaven and earth cash out the reward for him immediately. That is merit. Shen Jian was thoughtful. If this is the case, if he wants to surpass Ksiddhagarbha Bodhisattva in his great aspirations, then he can only make the world of Yang never be threatened by evil ghosts. Think of this. Shen Jian suppressed this idea for the time being. This wish is too big. He did not want to be bound by this oath. On the contrary, he found it very useful to make an oath to ghosts and gods, so that heaven and earth could immediately fulfill his merits. Those with a golden body of 5 levels of merit have a chance to become a candidate for the king of hell. What about Yupin? In the past, when he captured Li Gui, it was to satisfy himself, and heaven and earth rarely granted him merit, but it was different now. His path to merit became immediate rewards. According to this trend, he only needs to make a big wish before catching ghosts, and he will have great merits. Thinking of this, Shen Jian showed a satisfied look. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 588. He skillfully opened the soul-binding bag, and the ghost rope also threw the body of the long-necked ghost into it at the same time. The cooperation between the two was as smooth as if they were working on an assembly line in a factory. Having reached the previous step but before completing it, he subconsciously made the next move. See this scene. The 3 little girls looked on in confusion. I feel like my breathing is almost stagnant. At this moment, there were only 2 words left in their hearts. Major. This is called professionalism. Killing, shrouding, one-stop service. There's humming help. If such a scene were seen, I'm afraid no one would think that the long-necked ghost robbed him first. Instead, they would instinctively think that Shen Jian hijacked the driver in the car, ordered the other person to drive the car to a remote place, and then killed the person and hid the body. Grass. Which of you 2 is the robber? Besides, as a human, why can you deal with ghosts? Have today's ghost-catching masters evolved to this point? The operation is efficient, the movements are concise, the words are sharp, the behavior is abnormal, it is breathtaking, and it is almost a textbook way to send the ghost away. Compared with the long-necked ghost, this ghost-catching master is more like a ghost, the kind that kills people like crazy and enjoys torture. Think of this. The 3 girls were about to cry. The oldest woman with long hair in a floral skirt hesitated and said, "Brother, are you a human being? Are you here to catch ghosts?" Shen Jian picked up the scalpel and Gigi laughed, "What do you think?" The words fell. The scalpel was thrown out. Stabbed into a wall. Come out, stop hiding. If you don't use this hiding technique, my 90-year-old grandfather can find you. Shen Jian said disgustedly. 3 girls. Hear this. They looked back sharply. His face turned pale. Is there anyone else here? What happened just now has exceeded the psychological threshold of ordinary people. He is a normal person and knows to run away at this time. Those who dare to stay, except ghosts, can only be related personnel. Either way, it's not good for them. Because this is the scene of murder and corpse hiding. No matter who comes, there will be misunderstanding. This moment. The atmosphere at the scene was silent for a few seconds. Just when the 3 women felt that Shen Jian had made a mistake, a man and a woman came out from the corner of the street. There were a handful of scars on the man's face, and around his eyes, the scars were in the shape of 5 fingers, as if he had been scratched by some large mammal. The woman was extremely fragile and looked weak. She grabbed the man's collar and followed him cowardly, which made people feel a bit of macho protective desire. People from the Dragon Kingdom. Seeing the 2 of them, the 3 women were startled. Yes, we are all fellow villagers. My name is Na Yun, and she is my sister, her name is Na Yu. The scar-faced man Na Yun forced a smile. He looked at Shen Jian fearfully. At that time, the scalpel pierced the wall, only 0.01 centimeters away from his eyes, and almost blinded him. Na Yun explained, Don't get me wrong, the reason why I snooped was because I wanted to save you, but I didn't expect. He hesitated to speak. Out of the corner of his eye, he couldn't help but glance at the various crime tools on the hood of the car. Those are all ghost weapons. And the quality is excellent. Killing ghosts is fierce. But at the same time, he couldn't afford to use every ghost weapon here. From here it is enough to see that Shen Jian's identity is definitely not simple. Certainly. What he was even more afraid of was Shen Jian himself. He quickly followed and witnessed the conversation between Shen Jian and the long-necked ghost, and couldn't help but shudder. He never thought that the cruelty of human beings could make ghosts choose to commit suicide. This is shocking. In the past, only human beings were so frightened that they committed suicide under the threat of evil spirits. But today, the roles have been reversed. He was very suspicious of what Shen Jian did to be so heartless and crazy. Save us? Were you at the airport at that time? Or were you following us? Soon. The woman in the floral skirt caught the loophole in his words and asked. Na Yun smiled bitterly. It's a long story. Now take out your cell phone and see if there is no signal. Hear this. The three women looked suspicious. They picked up their mobile phones and saw that there was no signal. There were even problems with the phone itself. It's always distorted, like a TV malfunctioning. What's going on? The card I just bought can be used at the airport. This is lockdown. At this time, Na Yu, who was following Na Yun, also said timidly. After entering Gallifrey, we were completely isolated from the world. Not only was the mobile phone unable to connect to the internet, but there was also some kind of supernatural intrusion into the mobile phone, electronic equipment, and any modern communication equipment. After leaving the airport, completely scrapped. In other words, even if we die here, no one will know. Hear this. The expressions of the three women changed drastically. There is still a signal at the airport. Why don't you go to the airport and explain the situation? Na Yun's smile became even bitterer. Who do you think has so much energy to blockade the entire Gallifrey? This airport can only be entered, not exited. Once someone steps out of the airport and returns, they will disappear mysteriously, and the taxi we took was at the airport. Who do you think this taxi belongs to? As soon as these words came out, the three women felt like they were struck by lightning. The beauty faded. Even his voice became trembling. Are you saying that the officials here are artificially blocking this place and sending people to kill us? It's not that serious. If someone like you happens to encounter a ghost driver, it can only be said that you are very unlucky, otherwise you will just be robbed of your money. Na Yun explained, of course, this is not because the other party is soft, but to feed the evil spirits in this town. At this time, the three women were completely frightened. They just came to see the pyramids. Why did they encounter such bizarre things? They want to go home, not die in a foreign country without even finding their bodies. Think of this. They all looked at Shen Jian. This little brother is a master of catching ghosts. With him around, no ghosts can be afraid. Na Yun also looked at Shen Jian. After some hesitation, he asked, are you also a horror game player? I am also a player and a ghost controller. Are you an official member of the Dragon Kingdom? Shen Jian said with great interest, why do you think so? Because you didn't come here to become a ghost master. As a ghost master, I have the most say in my physical condition, and Gallifrey's evaluation in Dragon Kingdom is just a tourist attraction, not at all. It's worth a visit for ghost masters who don't have much time left. Na Yun said categorically, moreover, you didn't react at all when I told you about the situation here. This means that you have known about the situation here for a long time, and you are here for this. Shen Jian was non-committal. You could think so. Hear this. Na Yun's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, Do those in the Dragon Kingdom already know about the situation here? Are you among the first to come over to investigate? No, I came alone and did not notify Daxialanke. Shenjian shook his head. How so? The Qi in Nai Yun's eyes immediately disappeared. His expression fell silent. But looking at Nai Yu's light poke behind him, he quickly adjusted his mood. It's funny, but this is still good news. We people are missing. Daxialanke may not know, but an official people are missing, and Daxialanke will investigate here sooner or later, and then we can get away. Leave here with me. Gallifrey is not safe. We, the people of the Dragon Kingdom, are not only the targets of ghost hunting, but also the targets of white people and black people. The three women looked at each other and Shenjian. Shenjian was more casual. Followed directly. As he walked, he asked, "What is your situation? Please tell me in detail." Nai Yun explained, "We are all members of Freemasonry. This is a small organization established by us Longwo people to help each other. It is to rescue fellow villagers who came here unexpectedly. Because of this, I will go all the way following you." Shenjian asked curiously, "How many people are there in your Freemasonry? Are they all horror game players who only came here?" He wanted to know whether the chances of picking someone for this copy of Ghost and God were high. Not many, only about 100 people. Most of them are ordinary people. Only about 10 are horror game players, like Ghost Masters. I am the only one in the entire Freemasonry. Nai Yun shook his head. You are very unlucky. In another day, it will be time to reselect people for the thriller game dungeon. Once selected, we people from the Dragon Kingdom will be unable to move. We can only hide and wait until the dungeon is over, because the Holy See cannot. They will watch us pass the customs and become the dependents of the Master of the Pyramid. Shenjian was thoughtful. There are hundreds of people, more than 10 horror game players, plus the number of people who died in the dungeon. The chance of being selected is quite high. As for being hunted, this is all too common. When he entered the Scarlet Monastery, he was also hostile to a dozen white players who wanted to kill him in the dungeon. As for this copy of Cleopatra, once you clear the level, you can be selected by the ghosts and gods to become their vassals, and gain a trace of the ghosts and gods. If you truly serve, you may even need to use the power of the ghosts and gods to fend off enemies. How could the Western Holy See allow Easterners to get involved with such a copy? Think of this. The interest in Shenjian's eyes became even greater. What he said to Jian Quan at that time was not casual. But I really plan to do this. He wanted to know how the Western Holy See would attack him if he brought a pyramid back to the Dragon Kingdom. Use your own power to fight against the Holy See, which combines all the resources of the West. This thought came to Shenjian's mind. His eyes became deeper. The color is ups and downs. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Bulletin Chigwa. Chapter 589. Masonic. This is a dark and damp basement. When Shenjian came here, he saw oriental faces with numb expressions. Although he was not malnourished, he still looked like a zombie. Forgive me, these people are tourists like you who came to Gallifrey, but as you know, this place is isolated from all electronic devices, and we have lost hope of going home. Fortunately, because there are no electronic devices, we live in no one will notice here at all, and I can go to the nearby shopping mall every day to bring back supplies, so my life is quite peaceful. Nai Yun sighed. Invite Shenjian and his party to sit down. To be fair, the environment here is not bad. It's almost like an underground billiards court. Apart from being a bit cold and dark, it is still a good place to stay. The reason for the deep twilight is simply because these people have lost the hope of going back and can only take root in a foreign country for the rest of their lives until they die. This is heartbreaking. What affects them is psychological pressure, not their living environment. Brother, can we only stay here from now on, waiting for hope that has no deadline? A woman in a floral skirt who was following Shen Jian said in a panic. Shen Jian glanced at it. He remembered that the long-haired woman was called Chu Jian. She was the calmest of the three women. She was also the one who keenly noticed the flaw in Na Yun's words and was the first to question it. At this time, she has regarded Shen Jian as a life-saving straw. She doesn't trust anyone except Shen Jian who came with her. Will not. Shen Jian said calmly. These words. It attracted a lot of people's attention. But seeing Shen Jian so young, the light in their eyes dimmed a lot, his mouth was hairless, and he was weak at work. This sentence is perfectly suitable to be used here. Among the members of their Freemasonry, some have been here for more than a year, and some have just arrived for less than 3 months, but they know that unless the Dragon Kingdom officials find out and intervene, no one can save them. Not long after. Inside the office, Na Yun invited Shen Jian in. In addition, there are Na Yu and 11 scattered players. Brother Shen, I'm sorry, I can't reveal your identity yet. After all, we don't know when Daxia Longke will realize that something has happened to you. Now tell everyone in the Freemasonry your news. In case Daxia Longke, it took 3.5 months for K to know that the last string supporting their hearts would completely collapse. Na Yun explained. Shen Jian nodded. His current identity is that of an official who came here alone. In the eyes of these people, he does not have the ability to save people, so naturally he cannot announce the news hastily. Otherwise, over time, there will be chaos. This Na Yun is quite capable of management. Others also looked at Shen Jian one after another. They are all horror game players, but they were forced to play here. Before that, they did not believe that there were ghosts in this world and such supernatural phenomena. But Shen Jian is different. The other party is an official and a horror game player who became a player in the Dragon Kingdom. According to Na Yun, the other party is also suspected of being a ghost master, having personally forced a white-clad ghost to commit suicide. That's a white-clothed level devil. Killing people like hemp, you can wipe out their existence at will. Except for Na Yun, the other players in their Freemasons simply don't have the ability to compete with white-clothed ghosts. With the addition of Shen Jian, the strength of their Freemasonry has been raised to a new level. Think of this. All of them had genuine smiles on their faces. Immediately afterwards, Na Yun said in a deep voice, Brother Shen, do you still remember what I said before? Tomorrow, a copy of the thriller game will be opened here. The selection scope will be the entire Gallifrey. By then, everyone in Gallifrey human beings may be selected to start a new round of dungeon tests. If you are unlucky enough to be selected, Brother Shen, remember to escape. This dungeon has been occupied by the Western Holy See. Their number is several times ours, and there are a large number of ghost masters from other places in the dungeon. It is said that some of the Holy See's ghost masters have even controlled the 3 powerful ghost jigsaw. They have terrifying strength comparable to that of the Ghost King. Once they are caught, they will kill them without hesitation. There used to be thousands of people in the Freemasonry. The manager at that time was still my teacher. He controlled 2 fierce ghosts. But in a copy, he was killed and was wiped out without any resistance. The Freemasonry, the members also died one after another, leaving only the current 100 or so people. Hear this. Everyone at the scene fell silent. Fists clenched. They were blocked here, complaining that the sky and the earth were not working, and that they were like prey trapped in a gladiatorial arena, being hunted by white and black players. Humiliate as much as you like. Not to mention their dignity as people of the Dragon Kingdom, even their lives, they couldn't save. He can only hide here like a rat in the sewer. All the bloodiness has lost its effect under the strange supernatural power. Supernatural things don't make sense, various killing patterns, mortal curses, and supernatural props emerge in endlessly, and they have no chance of winning. Just when the atmosphere became increasingly gloomy, Shen Jian said coldly, "What should I do if I can't choose?" Na Yun? Na Yu? A group of players? Hear this. They were stunned. The corners of his mouth twitched sharply. God couldn't choose. Wouldn't it be better not to be able to choose? Entering a place where there are ghosts, white people, and black players everywhere, what they have to face is a state of being attacked from both sides. Of 10 players entering the dungeon, it is a miracle that 2 of them survive, it is good luck to survive if one survives, and it is normal for all of them to die. They can't even avoid such a dangerous dungeon. Who can't think of entering it? Instantly, all the eyes of the audience fell on Shen Jian with different eyes. Na Yun was also surprised and said, "Brother Shen, do you plan to go in? Did you already know that a copy would come here? Is your purpose to go in?" He responded quickly. I figured something out immediately. Breathing became rapid. He might have guessed something wrong. Shen Jian is indeed an official, but he is not insignificant, but someone with a certain status. Is he the so-called city person in charge? Think of this. His face turned red. Can't be wrong. Hearing that the dungeon was so dangerous, he still didn't give up the idea of entering. The opponent was definitely a ghost controller at the level of a city leader. Only in this way can one dare to explain why Shen Jian is not afraid of death. Because he is the top ghost controller who controls the 3 powerful ghost puzzles. Brother Shen, you are the person in charge of the city. Shen Jian nodded. Na Yun became even more excited. A city official came here in person. Even if the officials didn't know what was going on here, they were definitely aware of something. There is hope for them to get out of trouble. See it? Na Yun immediately said, "Brother, there are indeed other ways. I have heard those white players say that if this is a copy of the horror world, no one can enter except the participating players, but this is the real world. The opening location of the dungeon is the pyramid. According to the information I know, there is a bus station in Gallifrey that does not exist at all. There is a number 300 bus that drives there in the early morning every day. Taking this bus can break the gap between reality and reality. This may be a way to create a virtual barrier." Shen Jian was thoughtful. A bus that goes back and forth between reality and virtuality has the same effect as the ghost bus he took when he first entered the horror world of Nanjiang district. Using this method, it is indeed possible to break into the copy. And, if he remembered correctly, such a ghost bus was a vehicle used by ghosts, and there must be many ghosts on it who met the conditions for unlocking the beast path. Catch them all and fill up the animal path. Try to unlock the second 6 paths of reincarnation as soon as possible. Think of this. There was a hint of excitement on Shen Jian's face. That night, when the clock turns to 12 a.m., a large number of scarlet panels descend on the town. This indicates that a new round of game copies is about to begin. Within the Freemasonry, cries and howls sounded. Shen Jian looked around. 6 fellows were selected by the thriller game. A scarlet panel appeared in front of him. Among them was Chu Jian, one of the 3 little girls who came with him. When she saw that she had been selected in the thriller game, Chu Jian's face immediately turned pale and her figure began to falter. "Brother, I have been selected. There is still half an hour left in the countdown. What should I do?" She grabbed Shen Jian's collar quite helplessly. See it? Shen Jian was a little envious. Well, it would be better to choose him. He felt that this should be the reason for the maximum luck value attached to the dragon energy. Fortunately, this danger is naturally avoided. Hide, I will go too. Shen Jian said without interest. He ignored the others. Instead, he came to Nai Yun's office. It's a shame I wasn't chosen. Where is the bus stop? Shen Jian said. I'll take you there. Nai Yun was silent for a few seconds, stood up, and said firmly. You. Shen Jian was slightly startled and said with great interest, I plan to enter the dungeon. When you come with me, do you plan to enter the dungeon with me? You are the person in charge of the city. You cannot die. If you die, we will have no hope at all. When it comes to understanding this copy, no one must be more familiar with it than me. Let me lead the way and you can avoid many dangers. Nai Yun said sincerely. See this? Shen Jian said nothing more. That's okay. As long as you're here, you'll know where there's danger. Shen Jian turned and left. Nai Yun. His mouth opened slightly. Why did he feel that what Shen Jian said did not mean the same thing as what he said? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 590. On the road. Nai Yun introduced the situation of bus number 300 to Shen Jian. Brother, this bus number 300 is very weird. It only appears around 12 o'clock in the morning and leaves around 12:30. Not long after I became a ghost master, I bumped into it while collecting supplies. This yellow bus. And there was an extra platform on the street that didn't exist in the real world. I was so shocked that I didn't dare to stay any longer and left in a hurry. Before going back, I specifically investigated the situation of bus number 300 and found that it was an abandoned bus that had crashed many years ago. That platform was also a scrap point. According to the people in the small town of Gallifrey, the number 300 bus is the transport vehicle of the desert god of death. It regularly transports lonely ghosts to the underworld. It is a vehicle that symbolizes the unknown. Nai Yun narrated. Try to be as detailed as possible. Provide Shen Jian with more comprehensive information. After that, I was selected to enter the horror game copy for the second time. With the experience of the first time, I successfully hid under the encirclement and suppression by 3 parties. And they overheard the conversation between the 2 ghost masters. They said that the selection rules of the Pyramid Man were too casual. Every time he selected 100 people, he was lucky if 10 of them survived. For this reason, the Holy See has been thinking of other ways to enter the dungeon. Bus number 300 was one of the experiments, but for some unknown reason, the experiment was terminated. The Holy See crossed out the option of bus No 300. Speaking of which, Nai Yun looked at Shen Jian. The experiment that forced the Holy See, the largest ghost control organization in the entire Western world, to terminate must be that the danger has far exceeded the limit. He suspected that there was some secret hidden on the number 300 bus, or some unknown danger, so that even the Holy See had to give up this option in the end. It's a pity that just when I wanted to continue listening, the 2 ghost masters were discovered by the ghosts and ran away. Otherwise, I might have been able to overhear a safer way. He sighed. If Shen Jian hadn't deliberately asked and coupled with his status as the city leader, he would never have told the other party about such a dangerous supernatural place. That is simply going to die. Although he was shocked at first, it was the scare that made him see the scene on the number 300 bus. There is a person sitting in front of every car window. To know. It was 12 o'clock in the morning, so how could a bus be full of people? Unless. That's not human. In other words, the bus they are going to now is a ghost bus that seems to be full of ghosts. Shen Jian said nothing. Listen all the way. It wasn't until Nai Yun finished speaking that he asked, do you know the route of that ghost bus? Will it drive to the pyramid? Nai Yun was silent for a while, then shook his head and said, I don't know, but I think it must have been something wrong, otherwise the tone of the two ghost masters at that time would never have been like that. I think the reason why the Holy See gave up on this route is that, firstly, there are too many ghosts on the bus and the level of terror is not low, secondly, it is because it cannot change the route of the ghost bus. A ghost bus that can only travel on a designated route, even if it has the supernatural power to break the boundary between reality and illusion, will have no effect on the Holy See. So I guess that the Holy See should have tried to change the route of the ghost bus, but something terrible happened. Hear this. Shen Jian's eyes showed a bit of surprise. A new player who has only controlled one ghost and has never been to the horror world actually has such an opinion. The underworld appreciates this kind of talent. Looking at Na Yun, Shen Jian's eyes narrowed slightly. What's wrong? Brother Shen, is there something wrong with what I said? Na Yun hesitated. Even though he is 3 or 4 years older than Shen Jian, in the ranks of ghost masters in the supernatural circle, Shen Jian is obviously further ahead than him, and can even be said to have far surpassed him. What is the concept of a city leader? That is a position that can only be held by the top ghost master in a city. The status is equivalent to that of ancient princes. While protecting the safety of a city, it also has the highest decision-making power. Such a big shot was beyond the reach of a ghost master who only controlled one ghost. Call me big brother, he won't suffer. It's nothing. What you said is basically the same as what I guessed. Shen Jian said casually. Conversation room. The two of them were walking on the street. The surroundings were pitch black, so quiet that even the rattle of mice was not heard. The cold air blew in, making Na Yunji shiver. Suddenly, 100 meters away from them, a station appeared out of thin air. The station was glowing with fluorescent green, looking shabby and shabby. Outside the platform, a yellow bus was parked there. The paint had peeled off and even the license plate was crooked, looking like it had been scrapped. However, the strange thing is that the fluorescent screen above the vehicle is still flashing. The words Road 300 appeared. Right here. Na Yun was on guard, and when he was about to observe the situation first, he discovered Shen Jian had already walked straight over. Totally heartless. Na Yun? He was a little stunned. Damn it! Don't you need to observe the situation? How confident is a city manager level ghost master in supernatural events? This is a supernatural event that even the Holy See was defeated. He could see clearly at the beginning that the two Western ghost masters, one was level 46 and the other was level 45, were also cautious and mostly fearful when talking about this matter. A player of this level should be no worse than a city manager. Even they are so afraid, why is Shen Jian so brave? By the way, he doesn't seem to know what level Shen Jian is in the thriller game right now. Think of this. He looked suspicious, but followed anyway. Soon, the two of them had arrived at the non-existent bus stop. Looking at the dark ghost bus in front of him, he looked confused. He remembered that when he saw the ghost bus, it had green lights on. Could it be that this time it was not the departure time yet? That's what I thought. He caught a sudden glimpse out of the corner of his eye. In front of the dark car window, pairs of strange eyes slowly opened through the windows. Na Yun's face turned pale. I couldn't help but stagger in my steps. Ghost. Outside the dark car window, ghosts were everywhere. Scarlet eyes were open in front of him, staring straight at him. This moment, unparalleled fear arose in his heart. He almost couldn't help but turn around and run away. It wasn't until he saw that Shen Jian didn't move that he suppressed his heart palpitations. Brother Shen, this ghost bus seems to be full of ghosts, but the strange thing is that when they saw us two living people, these ghosts didn't move or attack us. Na Yun swallowed furiously. Is it because of the supernatural power of the ghost bus? Shen Jian glanced at him. That seems to be the case, but who can launch the attack with you? Come on, Let me test you. Two ghosts just attacked you. Do you know where they are? Na Yun. Hear this. He was immediately confused. One face turned even greener. Damn it. Two ghosts launched a supernatural attack on him. Damn it. Is he some Tang monk meat? So attracting hatred? Don't make trouble, brother. I'm timid and would really cry. His nerves were tense and his whole body was extremely nervous. Constantly observe your own situation. Soon, he noticed something was wrong. Na Yun lowered his head, and the shadow under his feet had undergone some inexplicable changes. What was originally a two-dimensional, pitch-black shadow suddenly transformed into a woman with a black dahlia growing out of her mouth, patchwork on her face, and skin that looked like ulcers. The woman is laughing. The smile was very captivating. It was like a puppet. The corners of the mouth were controlled by strings and raised a little bit, but the skin in other places did not move and looked very stiff. He smiled so hard that his face suddenly fell. The flesh at the corner of his mouth continued to crack, and blood flowed out uncontrollably, dripping on Na Yun's shadow, and the shadow began to gradually turn red. Saw this scene. Na Yun was horrified to the extreme. Unbeknownst to him, a ghost really launched a supernatural attack on him. Think of this. He didn't dare to be careless. A large amount of white hair oozes from the body surface. Then, shout for help. Brother Shen, there's a ghost here. He's a red-shirted one. I can't stop him. GGG, it's useless. You, my parasitic prey, don't think you can separate me. We are one, and I will let you be with me forever. The woman laughed sinisterly. There was a bit of flushing in his eyes, as if he was enjoying being one with the man, and his expression looked extremely crazy. However, she didn't finish her sentence. The next second, a big hand like a cattail leaf fan violently pinched her head and pulled her up. Woman? She was stunned. Looking back, the person who pulled her out of the shadow was another handsome human being. Shen Jian excels in her aesthetics. She wanted to kill another man and then enjoy it alone with that man. Did not expect. The other party actually caught her out of the shadow. No. How did you do it? This is unreasonable. The woman looked confused. Haven't spoken yet. She saw Shen Jian pinching her neck in disgust. Before she died, she seemed to hear the man cursing and saying something. You Laobi, you were actually killed and you don't meet the requirements. Tisk, you are ugly and worthless. How dare you appear in front of me? Woman. Before consciousness dissipates. There was only one thought left in her mind, no, you must be sick. It was painful enough for me to be killed. You still call me Laobi? Call me ugly? Even if I'm really ugly, you can't say it? With this roar, her neck was broken and she died on the spot. Watch this scene. Na Yun froze in place. Pupils shook violently. A red-clothed level fierce ghost, just like that, wow. Damn it. You are ridiculously strong. Are all the city leaders in Dragon Kingdom at this level? Looking at Shen Jian, who looked a little disgusted as if he was throwing away garbage, Na Yun seemed to have recognized what it meant to be a ghost master. It turns out that this is the person in charge of the city. Think of this. Na Yun suddenly remembered something. Brother Shen, didn't you say there are two ghosts? Where's the other one? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Bulletin Chi Gua. Chapter 591. At this time, under the number 300 bus, a pale man shook his head, looking dazed. He has extremely serious social fears. Although he is a red-clad fierce ghost like a woman, he does not dare to see strangers. He can only hide under the car and secretly activate his supernatural powers. Strange, Why did I seem to hear that woman's scream just now? With her level of terror, there are only two big living people, what else could happen? The society is afraid of ghosts and has doubts. He was lying under the car at this time, his whole body became flat, like a character in an exaggerated cartoon, looking around hard, trying to figure out what was going on. He has a good relationship with that woman. Because he has severe social anxiety, he can only stay in the dark. He usually hides in the shadow of women. Only when a woman finds his prey and is about to launch an attack, he will choose to find another dark place to stay. Not long ago, they were just about to take the bus when they found two living people approaching the station, and their evil instinct drove them to kill. Then, only then would he break away from the woman's shadow and lie down in the darkness covered by the ghost bus to hide. But after so long, he didn't hear the woman's voice again. The entire station was so quiet that it seemed almost intrusive. This made him a little flustered. Another moment passed. The social horror ghost lying under the car couldn't hide anymore. Because the ghost bus is about to leave. He must ride on it. After a fierce psychological struggle, the social horror ghost slowly moved his body and quietly poked half of his face out from under the car. He wanted to know the situation outside the station and where the two living people and his partner had gone. However, before he poked his head out for a few seconds, he suddenly felt a few drops of thick, cold liquid drip onto the back of his head. Society horror ghost. His expression froze. His face looked horrified. Did something drip onto him just now? He touched it subconsciously. The palms of my hands were bloody. Is blood. And it is the ghost blood of a fierce ghost, which exudes a fishy and pungent smell. Think of this. The social horror ghost turned his head and took a look. What caught his eye was a face with a dead look on his face, a black dahlia in his mouth, his head was patched and almost completely split open, ghost blood flowed down, and his pale eyes were full of unwillingness, staring at him. Society horror ghost. Moment. He was completely blown away. This sudden fright almost scared him out of his wits. Ah! He screamed as if he had seen a ghost. The whole ghost was extremely frightened. What happened? At this time, one hand moved the woman's head away, revealing Shen Jian's compassionate, caring face, full of humanistic care. I must have scared you. Don't be afraid. You committed suicide and it's valuable. No, as an apology, I will help you eliminate your fear right away. Society horror ghost? Big doubts popped up in his little head. What the hell, can fear be eliminated? I don't read much, so don't lie to me. How to eliminate it? He asked subconsciously. When he said this, his heart was still beating violently. One can imagine the psychological shadow that the scene just caused on him. If this happened a few more times, he was afraid that he would become the first ghost in history to be scared to death. Stinking for eternity. It's very simple. A sincere smile appeared on Shen Jian's face, and the corners of his mouth had opened up to the point of a weird smile. Then, he grabbed his head with his left hand and took out a machete with his right hand. Human, what are you doing with a knife? Don't worry, this is a physical way to eliminate fear. You also know that fear comes from the brain, and the brain controls your body to produce an emotion called fear. This method of mine can kill fear without it'll hurt your body. Society horror ghost. God will never hurt my body. I believe your mother is a ghost. You're lying to a 3-year-old child. With your posture, you clearly want to cut off my dog's head. Put your brains on your side, and ghosts will have no fear, right? You are really a humming genius. Save the ghost, someone wants to kill the ghost. The social horror ghost broke out in a cold sweat and shouted loudly. But when Shen Jian grabbed him, he couldn't move at all. He could only helplessly grab the floor of the car with his hands and make a final struggle sound. What happens after that, I don't know. Do it all. Shen Jian captured the headless body of the social terror ghost. Animal Path Ad 1. In this regard, he was very satisfied. The real world was invaded by horror games, evil ghosts revived, and terror descended, creating the soil for the birth of evil ghosts. Whether he is killed or commits suicide, as long as his resentment is strong, his soul will stay in the world and gradually turn into a lonely ghost. Then through various methods such as killing, cannibalizing, and scaring people, he will step by step from the white-clothed level to the green-y level, and then to the red level. Excluding the ghosts that have revived in the terrifying world, red-clad ghosts are basically the ceiling of the real world. Occasionally, top red-clad ghosts, and even Ghost King level ghosts are terrifying existences that are born by chance. And if you want to become a red-clothed level devil, you will have to risk at least hundreds of lives on your hands. And the more brutally you kill, the most intense pleasure you can get. These many conditions drive the evil spirits to hunt humans instinctively. And this type of ghosts who commit suicide for various reasons are the best indicators of unlocking the animal realm. Otherwise, it would be really not an easy task for him to gather 50 evil ghosts with the 10 evil karma in the horror world. After all, this is not like an evil ghost that can be catalyzed by humans. Thinking. Shen Jian looked at Na Yun. Is there anything you want to say? Na Yun. He was stunned for a few seconds. The facial muscles twitched subconsciously. What do I want to say? Damn it. Does it even matter what I'm trying to say? Eye-opener. It was really an eye-opener for him today. Not only has my horizons been opened, but my outlook on life has also been reshaped. The first time he met Shen Jian, he knew that this man was not a good person, and forcing the long-necked ghost to commit suicide refreshed his understanding of evil ghosts. But he didn't expect that. There is no limit to Shen Jian's bad behavior. If a ghost master is fearful, frightened, and cautious when faced with supernatural events or attacks by ghosts, then this man is teasing the ghosts and playing tricks on others. Crooked son. How much self-confidence does it take to dare to do such a thing? Isn't he afraid that one day he will lose it? Was he bitten by the evil ghost? Think of this. Na Yun took a hard look at the two dead-looking heads, and saw that the red-clothed ghost was killed so easily, which was enough to scare the ghost masters. He said from the bottom of his heart, Brother Shen, your method is so wonderful, I thought about it carefully, after he is completely dead, he will never have fear like this. I want to record these methods and compile them into a book. I will name it On the 360 Ways of Death by Fierce Ghosts. Shen Jian was startled. What he wanted to ask was, do you ever feel that you are too weak? But Na Yun's level of consciousness surprised him. Such a talent should become a living person. Then, Shen Jian's eyes became more and more satisfied. Yes, children can be taught. Na Yun wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said with a smile, Brother Shen teaches well by his own example. I don't dare to take credit. Shen Jian looked at him and wanted to praise him. At this time, the number 300 ghost bus parked outside the station suddenly made movement. The originally dark car body suddenly lit up with gloomy green lights. Under the light, one after another, the fierce ghosts appeared. He was watching them through the car window with a sinister look on his face. A cursory look. There are at least 30 of them. Na Yun's face turned pale. He knew that the ghost bus was the means of transportation used by Li Gui, but he did not expect that there were so many Li Gui. 30 ghosts, what's the difference between riding a horse and falling into a ghost den? And in a narrow car, if the ghosts swarm you, even if you have weird supernatural abilities, they will be eaten up if they are unable to work. He could only pray that the evil spirits here were restricted by the ghost bus and could not attack humans. Otherwise, it will be dangerous. Na Yun looked at Shen Jian, wondering what the arrangements were. For example, supernatural props disguised as ghosts, or blocking the ability of ghosts to sense. Then he saw Shen Jian carrying two bodies and couldn't wait to get into the car. No defense at all. Not to mention pretending or something. He just boarded the ghost bus in such a swaggering manner. Na Yun. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He always felt that this trip would be the most exciting experience in his life. And there's no turning back. I can only go all the way. With this thought, he hurriedly followed. He was afraid that if he fell one position behind, he would be blocked by the ghost. Got in the car. The gloomy green atmosphere is eerie. Na Yun looked over. There were more than 30 ghosts on the seats, and they were looking greedily at the two living people who got into the car. It seems that they did not expect that these two humans were so courageous. They knew that this was a ghost bus and dared to get on it arrogantly. The aura of living beings exuded made them salivate. They are all waiting for the opportunity. See this. Na Yun's face turned even paler. He was just a new ghost master who controlled Jigsaw, a powerful ghost. He was watched by more than 30 ghosts. This was his first experience. I just feel my scalp is numb. Feeling aversion to the heart. At this time, he saw that after Shen Jian got into the car, he dumped the two headless corpses in the car and said excitedly, "It's fate. When we meet for the first time, I didn't prepare anything good, so I brought two local products from my hometown to give you." Shen Jian glanced away. The Hell-Eye ability from King Qin Guang allowed him to clearly know the past and present lives of these evil ghosts. There are about 30 ghosts, most of them meet the conditions for inclusion in the animal realm. If you catch them all in this wave, you can basically complete half of the performance. Think of this. Shen Jian became more enthusiastic. He looked left and right, and occasionally showed a bit of disgust, but overall he nodded with great satisfaction. Ghosts? Looking at the two similar people in the carriage, they were stunned for a moment. Shocked. Is this horse riding a local specialty? Is this your souvenir gift? Where are you from? We will divide a separate province for you, so don't confuse it with us. Everyone is here, let's set off. I believe we will have a wonderful night. Shen Jian patted the driver's shoulder familiarly. Give orders. Ghost driver. You're just talking nonsense. Why don't you be the driver? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 592. Seeing the familiar Shen Jian, all the ghosts on the number 300 bus were stunned for a moment. I've seen people calling strangers close friends, but I've never seen people hooking up with ghosts. You're afraid it's not bio. And this behavior of delivering souvenirs. If it were in a normal world, the passengers would only think that this is a very enthusiastic young man, but this is a ghost bus, and the people on the bus are all ghost passengers. You are no longer enthusiastic. This is humming awesome. Not to mention calling each other brothers to ghosts, even if you are so familiar with a stranger, it is not appropriate. Besides, is your hometown souvenir a ghost? Or the headless kind? Why don't you give us each one? Think of this. The eyes of the ghosts turn sinister. They are a group of ghosts here, but the other party turns a blind eye and is not afraid of them at all. Instead, they look very normal. This is so abnormal. They are ghosts. If humans were allowed to be so unscrupulous, where would they put their faces? Must be sanctioned. The ghosts all looked at each other and saw the movement on each other's faces. Then, their eyes fell neatly behind Shen Jian and stared at him. It's like waiting for the opportunity. The other side. Na Yun broke into cold sweat and gulped down his saliva. Sitting very upright, closest to the exit, I felt restless, as if the seat was very hot. From the corner of his eye, he secretly glanced at the ghost passenger in the back. Lowering his voice, he said, "Brother Shen, you should tell me what you can do. If we continue to sit like this, I'm worried that these ghosts will find an opportunity to attack us in groups. Moreover, I discovered that this ghost bus actually followed the bus route in the real world. If so, the bus would stop for a few minutes at every stop. I suspect these ghosts are just waiting for this opportunity. But when the ghost bus stops, these ghosts will start attacking." Shen Jian nodded. Glancing at the route map, he casually said, "Is this the direction of the pyramid?" At present, the location of the pyramid is actually beyond the scope of Gallifrey. According to the town distribution map I know, we will probably pass by the pyramid at the sixth to last stop. During this time, we must find a way to get there. A way to divert the ghost bus. Shen Jian pondered slightly. Cleopatra's copy was opened around 12:30 in the morning. Although he had missed the initial opportunity, he could still catch up with the large army as long as he was fast enough. But at present, the ghost bus does not travel very fast. It may take about an hour to reach the pyramid. This is too slow. Thinking. With the sound of brakes, the ghost bus stopped. Shen Jian was startled. "Look away. I saw a passenger waving on the road. See this?" Na Yun's expression changed. "This bus does not stop at one stop at a time. Instead, it stops randomly when passengers get on the bus. In this case, it will be full soon. This bus is a medium-sized bus with a full capacity of 40 people. There are currently 35 people sitting in the car. It will be full with only 5 passengers left. According to the parking rules of the ghost bus, it is likely that less than 2 stops will be full. What will happen then, no one knows. If you're lucky, there might be a ghost willing to stand. But if you are unlucky, someone will ask you to give up your seat. They are 2 living people sitting in a ghost car. No matter how you look at it, they are at fault. Not to mention, he didn't know what would happen after parking the car. This is why the casualties of ghost masters are unpredictable. Because you never know what terrifying supernatural abilities you will encounter in the world of ghosts. Everything is unknown. The unknown is the great terror." As the vehicle's whistle sounded, the ghost bus stopped. The pale green car light suddenly dimmed. The entire carriage fell into darkness. This moment, something terrible happened. The group of ghosts who were already eyeing Shen Jian, the 2 living beings, collectively laughed sinisterly at this moment. Once you get on the ghost bus, you can't get off until the end. Each trip can only carry 40 passengers. This is the rule. But the ghost bus is not prohibited from taking action. But you can only take action after the car stops and the lights are completely turned off. The timing of lights out depends on how quickly new passengers board. And this time, the ghost bus stopped on the opposite side of the street and above the new passenger. If the passenger wanted to come over, it would take at least a minute. This was the credit of the ghost driver, who made reasonable use of the rules. 1 minute. There are 33 ghosts in the whole car, enough to eat these 2 big living people. Suddenly, the ghosts are moving. In the dark, the expressions of the mother and child sitting opposite Shen Jian suddenly turned ferocious, and the baby in their arms also let out an unpleasant and harsh cry. At the back of the aisle, a scrawny man opened his bloody mouth and grinned from the corners of his mouth to his ears. The other passengers also felt a strong yin energy rising from their bodies. The lowest level of terror is also the Tsingyi level. More of them are red-clad ghosts. There is even a top red one among them. The terrifying supernatural explosion turned the entire carriage red. Then pounced in Shen Jian's direction. It's over. The moment the lights were turned off, Na Yun felt something was wrong. When the sinister laughter sounded, the uneasiness turned into uneasiness. Immediately afterwards. It's a thriller. As expected, the ghosts knew the rules of the ghost bus better than they did. The moment the lights went out, a supernatural attack was launched against them. 33 ghosts attacked at the same time, and in the pure black environment where the lights suddenly turned off, human eyes could not adapt to this change at all, and they could only see blackness in front of them, and they could not see their fingers. He could see nothing but the dark laughter. Even Shen Jian's figure was completely invisible. This moment, Na Yun was desperate. However, the next second, light appeared. The bright golden light illuminates the entire ghost bus. The entire carriage is illuminated. Shen Jian sat in his position and did not move. Na Yun also regained his sight. The first thing you see is a mind-numbing scene. At this time, all the ghosts in the carriage were already around them, and their ferocious and twisted faces were clearly visible. This scene, it can be said to be extremely chilling. He saw a scrawny man crawling above him, opening his huge mouth and stretching out a long neck, as if to pierce his brain. The same goes for Shen Jian's feet. A baby with pale skin and red lines on its body was opening its sharp teeth and was about to bite Shen Jian's foot. But the weird thing is, the ghost suddenly stopped moving. Stand still where you are. Na Yun was shocked and confused. At this time, he heard Shen Jian speak. Move, keep moving and show me. Hear sounds. He turned his head sharply and looked. Shen Jian was seen sitting in his seat and holding out a finger. On his fingers, bits of golden light were brewing and taking shape, exuding a terrifying wave of energy, aimed at the dead baby that was about to bite. Dead baby. The baby wants to cry but has no tears. No, I don't dare to move, I don't dare to move at all. The other ghosts also showed horrified expressions. Damn it! It's hard time. When the ghost bus stops, it swallows all light sources. Even the top red shirt person can only see the bright red for a moment. They couldn't even imagine how terrifying it was to imagine Shen Jian lighting up the entire carriage. Moreover, even those who don't understand this should understand how terrifying this human being is just by seeing the laser brewing on Shen Jian's finger. Woohoo! I really don't dare to move. If they move, they're afraid they'll explode. At this moment, the scene was silent for a while. Shen Jian clicked his tongue and kicked the dead baby away from his feet. Then stood up. Sit back, what are you doing? And you, get over here right now. Slower down and I'll blow your head off. Shen Jian cast his eyes on the new passenger at the front and bottom of the car in front and cursed. New passenger. At this time, he had 1 foot half stepped on the ghost bus. Looking at Shen Jian's ferocious look, which looked like the demeanor of an evil force, he shrank and prepared to leave. But as Shen Jian became more and more dangerous and was about to shoot out the golden laser, he walked up with a sad look on his face, as if he was walking to the execution ground. Subsequently, all passengers sit down in a polite manner. He didn't even dare to take a breath, for fear of being the one who stood out and being shot in the head. As new passengers board the bus. Inside the carriage, a green light turned on. The ghost driver hurriedly started the car as if he had seen a ghost. At this time, Shen Jian came over. He threw the ghost driver behind him with one hand. He said disgustedly, if you act like this, you won't even be able to keep the meal warm. Immediately, Shen Jian sat in the driver's seat. Think about it. He poked his head back and asked, which one is the button for taking off? Na Yun? Ghost driver? A group of ghost passengers? Damn it! Do you want to listen to what you are asking? Why are you sitting in the driver's seat if you don't know how to drive? Want 36 lives in one corpse? Think of this. The ghosts panicked. Someone wanted to persuade Shenjian that professional matters should be left to professionals. Driving erratically makes loved ones burst into tears. You who don't have a driver's license are driving illegally. This is illegal, do you know? The life of a ghost is also life, so we must cherish it. At this time, after trying, Shenjian finally found the button to start this ghost bus. There was a bang. The engine of the dilapidated bus roared with overwhelming force. You must have used the accelerator as a foot pedal to step on it, it was so loud. The passengers in the car suddenly felt bad. The grimace turned pale. Etc. Is it too late to jump out of the window and leave now? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 593. At this time, on the number 300 ghost bus, the accelerator sound became louder and louder, and the tires made a harsh friction sound. Inside the car, 34 ghosts and one big living person all showed frightened expressions. Not only were the ghosts scared, but Na Yun, who came with Shenjian, looked very helpless at this time. All I could do was hold onto the pole. His mentality collapsed. A newcomer who didn't even know where the ignition button was driving a bus and stepped on the accelerator so hard that he could almost predict that the bus would crash and everyone would be killed. Really? The experience was truly thrilling. I can't even save my life. He looked at the ghost passengers who also had frightened expressions, with a hint of sympathy in their eyes that they would go to hell together. Then, she was about to cry without tears, "Brother Shen, if you want to fly close to the ground, what should I do now?" "Do what?" Shenjian tilted his head and thought for a moment. "Keep something in your mouth that can prove your identity." "Na Yun?" He was stunned for a moment. "What are you doing with this?" Etc. Na Yun's eyes widened. "Grass. With personal belongings in his mouth, he can claim his body after death, right?" He panicked even more. "What about us? We don't have human identification, what do we mean?" The ghosts were also panicked. "Bite off a piece of your finger. Don't worry. This is a high-tech era. Fingerprint technology is very advanced. If it doesn't work, you can still test for DNA. You won't be left anonymous and alone." Shenjian grinned. This is his second time driving a ghost bus. The first time he opened it was the second copy of the horror game he had just entered, and he was asked to drive a hearse to deliver the body to the funeral parlor. That time, because of the rules, he couldn't drive fast. This time, there are finally no restrictions. He wanted to get to the pyramid as soon as possible, so he couldn't delay too much on the road, but he couldn't let go of the ghost passengers who would appear on the streets while driving. After all, these are all achievements to unlock the Hell Realm. Lu Xun has a good saying, "It is difficult to have both in life, but you can force yourself to have both." The twisted melon is not sweet, but it can quench your thirst. When you need to make a choice, don't hesitate, I want both. At the moment, Shenjian encountered this kind of life choice. He chose to achieve it together. Whoosh. The next second, press the accelerator to the bottom, and in just a few seconds, the speed of the ghost bus soars from 0 to 120 miles. The strong pushing feeling made the passengers in the car scream. "Ah! Hey, human, don't do that. No, stop the car, I get sick from speeding. Oh my God, come on and stop him. If the ghost bus crashes and explodes, we will all be doomed. Brother, I called you brother. Please stop the car. Stop the car," the ghosts screamed. "Stop the car," the ghosts hugged each other and cried bitterly. The ghost passengers were screaming throughout the car. They had never even tried to drive a small car over 120 miles per hour during their lifetime. Unexpectedly, after their death, they experienced the feeling of speed, and it was a ghost bus. Damn it! Why do you set a bus speed above 120 miles per hour? I have to take a test. However, this is still not the limit of ghost buses. Shen Jian saw that as the dashboard continued to accelerate, he stepped on the accelerator to the bottom and began to absorb his yin qi, and the speed exceeded 120 miles. 130, 150, 180, 200 miles. This seems to be the limit of ghost buses. When this speed is reached, it cannot continue to increase. And because the yin qi he transferred was so huge, it actually saturated the ghost bus. In layman's terms, the accelerator is welded shut. To put it more simply, the brakes failed. Shen Jian looked at the steering wheel, let go of his hand, and fell into deep thought. This scene. Naturally, he was noticed by the ghost passengers behind him. Their souls are gone. Exclaimed, "Ah, human being, what are you doing with your hands off the steering wheel? Don't make trouble, something will happen to you. Please, hold the steering wheel quickly. It's a ghost outside. If it gets scratched, the ghost bus will definitely explode." The group of ghosts looked at the blurred buildings quickly passing by outside the car window, and their hearts went crazy, and their faces turned purple. This damn thing is no longer driving, this is flying close to the ground. Someone come and stop him. It took them several lifetimes of bad luck to meet this living cub. Don't panic, because the brakes have failed. Shen Jian said calmly. Because at this speed, the original 1-hour drive can be completed in just a few minutes. Although it was not within his expectation that the ghost bus would be full, it had no impact at all. Ghosts. They were stunned. What? The brakes failed? I'm crazy. Doesn't that mean they can't stop? If they collided with any large building, flying at this speed, they would probably become meat patties. Ah! A louder scream sounded in the car. At this time, road ahead, a figure jumped out. It was a dealer ghost dressed in a suit, as if he had just walked out of home and was about to start a day's work. Human, change direction quickly, we are about to collide. Mom, if you hit me at this speed, you will definitely die without any accidents. Human, hurry up, this is a ghost life after all. Just shift the direction. The ghosts shouted. However, Shen Jian sat in the driver's seat, indifferent. Haha, this is my first time, why should I let him? Can't he get out of the way? Ghosts. They were stunned. God, he got out of the way. When life is at stake like this, why do you, a human being, give in? Is this normal? How do we feel that you are much crueler than us? But, the road is so narrow, he must not be able to run as fast as you can. A ghost passenger subconsciously retorted. Then there's something wrong with the road. Why make it so narrow? Shen Jian laughed and said. Group of ghosts. They understand. Everything is an excuse. This human being is just trying to hit someone. If the road is built too narrow, if it is really widened, it may be said that the road does not have sidewalks, and this ghost violates traffic regulations. Anyway, it means the same thing. The ghost passengers dared not speak out in anger. Seeing that one of their kind was about to be hit and killed, they couldn't help but feel a little sad. Boom! With a roar like thunder on dry land, the dealer ghost in the middle of the road was directly knocked away under his horrified eyes. The second before the crash, there was only one thought in his mind: he, a red-clad fierce ghost, was killed. Damn it, which bastard is flying a plane in the city? His death was an unjust injustice. A few seconds later, a red hemp rope hoisted the dealer ghost back and hung it on the roof of the car, flying in the wind. Inside the carriage, the whole place fell into dead silence. No one dared to speak anymore. Because this rolling thing is really daring to hit. A proper Jongsan. The other side. Na Yun, who was holding onto the pole to prevent himself from jumping up and down, looked at Shen Jian's operations. His eyes were dull and he was in a trance. Such a situation can be reversed abruptly. He also made a group of ghosts, like Sun Tzu, dare to be angry but dare not speak out. They could only sit in their seats and scream in fear. Are all current city leaders like this? And why did he feel that compared to the ghost passengers in this car, these two living people were more like gangsters? For those who didn't know, they thought it was the two of them who held this group of people hostage. Thinking. Na Yun said loudly, "Brother Shen, this is where we have to turn, otherwise we will miss the way to the pyramid." Shen Jian did not hesitate. Change direction. Driving off the original route of the ghost bus. Then. Shen Jian's eyes lit up. The excitement on his face deepened. Perhaps because they deviated from the original route, there were more ghosts on the other road. They all go out for a walk after early in the morning. See this scene. Shen Jian's first thought was, send it. Subsequently, he drove the ghost bus at a speed of 200 miles, driving recklessly on this road. See each other and bump into each other. Seeing two collide with each other. A large number of dead ghosts were hung on the roof of the car by ghost ropes. The area below the knees was just hanging in the air out of thin air. It looks extremely weird and penetrating. The passengers sitting by the window turned pale and sweated profusely. He didn't even dare to take a breath. Brother Shen, we are almost there, but the jurisdiction where the pyramid is located has been established by the Holy See. Not only are there heavily armed members of the Holy See guarding it, but there are also many ghost controllers who are also guarding the outside. It is very tight. Na Yun looked out the window and reminded. Although he could still only see the afterimage outside, he knew that with the current speed of the ghost bus, it had already entered the warning range of the Holy See. If he guessed correctly, the Holy See has already discovered this ghost bus. Certainly. Whether it can be blocked is another question. After all, with the current speed of the ghost bus, even if the Ghost King comes, one will be killed every time it hits him. At the same time. Pyramid Camp. The alarm sounds. A large number of armed non-staff members of the Holy See hurried out of the camp. Holding a gun, he stood guard outside the guardrail. Discussions arose. They all find it a bit incredible. These 2 days were a no-go area for Gallifrey. Who is so bold as to break in? Don't want to die? At this time, a white man lowered his voice and said, I heard it was a ghost. Ghost? You want ghosts to attack the camp? No way. Haven't the Holy See's ghost controllers already made arrangements outside the cordon? And it is said that there is a terrifying being living in the pyramid. What kind of ghost dares to break in? I don't know. Anyway, it was quite loud. Listen, it's the whistle. At this time, all the fully armed personnel saw a ghost bus with the corpses of ghosts hanging on the roof rushing towards here at an extremely fast speed. It only took a moment to pass through them. Pass through the obstructing fences and the various slow-down props they set up. The car body was in an illusion, running straight towards them. The roaring hurricane and the huge shadow are enough to produce an impact weighing dozens of tons. That moment, unreasonable horror arose in their hearts, causing many soldiers to fall to the ground, their faces pale. If that ghost bus hadn't covered the ghost zone, wouldn't it have just crushed them to death? At this speed, they, a group of ordinary people, might not even be able to save their bodies. Is this what's scary about ghosts? Faced with such an existence, how could they, as non-staff members of the Holy See, fight against it? The firearms they relied on were completely useless at this moment. I could only watch helplessly as this bus full of ghosts drove towards the pyramid. Half an hour later, A piece of information was passed on. Supernatural event, ghost bus. Supernatural, it is suspected of possessing a ghost realm, with a speed exceeding 200 miles. Even the Ghost King cannot survive the impact. Driving source, ghost driver. The source ghost who drives the ghost bus has his own ghost rope, which can hang ghosts. He has a cruel temperament and is suspected to be related to the pyramid. He drives the bus with a human head and rushes into it. Once out of control, Gallifrey will fall. Assessment, SS level supernatural event. Request support.